Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host, so we're glad to have you back. We got a great guest today, Coach Dan Gordon, all the way from the beautiful sunny coast, the left coast we call it. So Dan, it's such a pleasure to have you. I love your subject. I always tell people I can teach you the academics of making money in business or real estate, but you're not going to get any further ahead unless your head is where it needs to be, and that's where you.
I love that.
That's where a good coach goes. I've been blessed by some good coaches over the years, and I recognize you as one of the good guys. So, if you wouldn't mind,
thank you.
Most of us started off doing something else. Would you mind sharing with us briefly your journey or where you started and how did you end up where you are now? How did you get to be in this genre, this
Absolutely, field? Gary. And two things first. I really love your energy, man. And I can say that because I live in California. We can say that. And the other thing, I'm going to make this as short as possible because I'm going to get right into giving value to your audience. So I will give you a little background. Okay. So about 8 years ago, I was a man in a very unusual position. Not what you're thinking. I was face down on my carpet in a pool of snot and tears because I had just lost $70,000. My marketing company had crashed. It was $30,000 in debt. And I had no idea what I was going to do. And so I called a friend. I'm like, Laura, it's going on. And she goes, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, look, and the little background, I used to teach personal development courses. I flew around the country and in Europe teaching these intensive 3-day seminars. And turns out I was really good at it, right? And so everything that I did always had that kind of quality to it. And so she said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to do the thing I love and always been good at. I want to be back in the changing people's lives business. And she said, well, do that. I said, Laura, who's going to hire a business coach who just failed at business? And she goes, right? And she goes, I don't know. You'll figure it out. Okay, so jumping ahead, 8 months later, almost to the day, I walked out on stage in Dallas, Texas, being paid $10,000 for my very first speaking gig. Right? Now, the reason that's important to your audience is that going from the floor to the stage was the most intense experience of personal transformation I've ever been through. And it was rough, right? Because I had a vision of who I could be, but I didn't even know or believe I could get there. And so I had to put my doubts on the back burner. And fortunately, because I was out of money, I had nothing to lose, right? I was about to be homeless. So what's the worst that could happen? And it was such a powerful experience because moving through that made me realize just how much I had been using my mind to hold me back instead of moving me forward. And this is what I love about working with entrepreneurs. Having been in the personal development space, I realize that most people will only work so hard to improve their lives. Then they're like, my life is good enough, right? Like right before they do the big thing. Entrepreneurs work a ton harder, right? Because our hearts are in it. There's a paycheck attached to it. But the bigger thing is entrepreneurs are focused on what we can bring to the world, not just if we can feel better. And I freaking love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the background there. It's funny how, out of crisis, new life and new growth springs forward. I always use the analogy of California. And by the way, I appreciate you telling me I've got good energy. Over the years,
definitely.
Yeah. Well, I was, born in Germany, lived mostly East Coast from Toronto, Canada, all the way down to Florida. But for several years, I would go to California. What I did is, this is what I did after I left the corporate world. The even number of winters I'd spend in Florida, the odd number of winters I'd spend in California, because I have family out there. Northern California, Southern California. And I love it out there. And it's just, beautiful country, beautiful people. It's, California is not just LA or San Diego or San Francisco. I mean, it's an amazing state if you like the outdoors. And it's amazing people. So in any case, I learned from the people out there. People thought I was from out there, because get this, I'm 60 years old. I still have my cruiser, my 3-foot skateboard.
Beautiful.
it's normal for a guy my age to be on a skateboard out there, but I try to do that like New York City. People are calling 911. Hey, there's some crazy guy on a skateboard.
And I'll tell you, Gary, one of the things, so I moved here about 20 years ago from St. Louis, Missouri. So I'm an aw shucks Midwestern boy. One of the things I realized right away about Los Angeles is that people come out here to live a bigger life. It is a think it up and do it mentality.
Yeah.
And I see so many people create so many new things here. And I'm like, whoa, this is the place for me. And I just, and I love that a large portion of your audience is in real estate, are realtors. And, to our friend who is listening right now, I freaking love you. And the reason that I do is because I find realtors out of all entrepreneurs really do work the hardest.
Yeah.
There's such a hustle behind real realtors, right? Not I got into this to make some money, it's not working, but like people who really do it. And if I may, one of the biggest struggles that realtors face is that you suffer with, I have to do it all myself-itis, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, right, that you do not ask for help. And the truth about entrepreneurialism is you're always going to need more help than you want to ask for. You always need more help. And so in the work that I do with realtors, I primarily focus on two places, and that is in increasing their sales by teaching them better sales training, and then also systems. Like business, there's so many business systems out there. Like there's so many things online. There's JotForm, of course, there's ChatGPT now. There's all of the Calendly, right? There are all of these systems that you can use to maximize your time. But what I really want to talk about when it comes to really any entrepreneur is sales, right?
Okay.
And I get it. Like sales has such a bad stigma attached to it. And it's only because of the bad actors, right? The bad salespeople that we have dealt with. Like nobody wants to sell in the way that they've been sold to. So what they tend to do is they sell by the methodology of not doing what they don't like. Yeah. It's sort of like trying to learn how to play basketball by just learning all of the fouls and not doing the fouls. It doesn't teach you how to get the ball in the basket.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I focus on is what I call authentic selling, or in a more pejorative term, no douchebag selling, right? Okay. How to sell without being a douchebag. I'm sorry, but without being a douchebag, right? But also be direct and bold. And that's the thing that most people need help with. Like, how do I be direct and bold? How do I be relentless, but still not come off as pushy?
Yeah.
And the thing is that the pushy people don't take no for an answer. The bold people don't take I don't know for an answer.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning that your job as a salesperson, and spoiler alert, if you're in business, you're a salesperson. I don't care if you're a dentist, a pilot, a real estate agent, in a CPA, you're in sales. Your job is to be influential, to influence people to make a choice that will benefit them. Not you immediately, but them, right? It's got to be mostly about them. And so being influential is all about really listening, really focusing, and being completely empathetic. Right? Yeah. So the I don't know that people that salespeople tend to give up on, right? Someone says, I don't know. Let me think about it. Let me talk to my spouse. I'll get back to you, right? And then they never do. And the salesperson goes, well, I guess they weren't interested. Not true. Because until you hear a no, it's a yes.
Yeah.
Here's what's going on. When someone says, I don't know, when someone says, let me think about it, the fact is they're afraid. Mm-hmm. They're about to make a choice, and they're afraid of the choice that they're about to make. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not just about the money. In fact, this is going to sound crazy, but the money is the smallest part of it. Look, I'm an expensive coach, right? A year working with me is about $65,000. Mm-hmm. Now, when people are about to make that investment, right, when they're about to do it, it is their greatest fear. And it's not about spending the money. What they're afraid of is they're not going to get value. And when they feel like they made a mistake, a financial mistake, they're going to beat themselves up. And in every sales interaction, that is what your prospect is most worried about. How they're going to judge themselves for engaging in something that didn't give them value.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so because of that, and just sorry, like I don't mean to take over your show.
No, this is good. I've got some questions for you, but keep going because I want people to understand, more than anything else.
Yeah.
When you have someone like Dan, guys, working with you, he's going to be able to see in you things that you can't see yourself.
Yeah.
And more importantly, he's going to be able to see the path from where you are to where you need to go. And it all starts with your mindset, your heart set,
Yeah.
what you believe, how strongly you believe, and just knowing that you can accomplish what you want. You're far more capable of anything you can possibly conceive of on your own. Just know that. So sorry, Dan. You're doing great, man.
I love it. And you're so right about that because look, when I was on the floor having an emotional breakdown, I did not believe in myself.
Yeah.
And what I said is, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be successful at this, but I'm going to find out. And if I'm a fraud, I'm going to find out that I'm a fraud. If I'm good at it, I'm going to find out that I'm good at it. And that's why people don't take action on the things that they want to do. They're afraid that they're going to find out that they suck at it. And spoiler alert, you will. There will be times when you are clunky, but there isn't anything that you practice at that you get worse at. Everything you practice at, you get better at. So to that point, in selling, when you're dealing with someone who is interested in your product or service, they want it. Like you have to know they want it. They didn't get this far just to say, I don't want it. What's happening is they're afraid of making that choice. Look, I realized this when I went skydiving the first time. Right? I was all about skydiving, Gary. I couldn't wait to go skydiving until we were 10,000 feet off the deck and my instructor rolls open the door. And now it's like, oh, holy snarkies. Now it's getting real.
Yeah.
Right? So as somebody gets closer to making a decision, they get more frightened. And if you try to sell them using, the classic, services, benefits, features, those things, you're playing an intellectual game with someone who's having an emotional experience. Now, if for the guys out there, or, look, when my wife comes to me and she's having a problem and she wants to share her feelings, if I start trying to solve the problem intellectually, right, I get hit over the head with a rolling pin, and rightly so, right? Because I'm not connecting with her emotionally. And that's what you have to do with your prospects. When they're afraid, and they're always afraid when they get close to making a decision. And it doesn't matter if it's $1 million, $100,000, or $100. There's a fear about spending money and making a mistake. So when that happens, rather than trying to overwhelm them with intellect, you have to connect with them emotionally. And there are 4 words to begin that process. And this is something that I teach all of my clients and I give away. And if you use these 4 words effectively, you're going to begin that deepening process of the relationship. And those 4 words are, hey, I get it.
Okay.
Right? When someone says to me, when they look at my coaching agreement and I go, wow, it's really expensive. I don't go, yeah, but you have to invest in yourself. Yeah, but let's talk about all the benefit that you'll get out of it. I say, yeah, I get it. Right? They say it's too expensive. I go, I get it. I know what it's like to really want something and feel like I can't afford it. It feels terrible. Like, and frankly, I feel like a loser. Like when I went to buy my Tesla and I was like, holy shit, it's going to be $114,000 for this car. The last thing I wanted to do was to buy that car. Right. Like, well, what if I get in a situation where I lose all my clients, like I did, and I can't, so it's scary to think that you're going to pay all this money and maybe it's not going to work out. It's really scary, right? And so now we're having the conversation about what's really going on. And so, hey, I get it. not just, it puts me in an emotional frame of mind where I'm connecting with them authentically, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
opening my heart. Hey, I get it, right? I know what this feels like, man. It feels awful.
Mm-hmm.
And so now not only are we talking about what we're really talking about, now they're having a recognition that I've had the same experience that they're having right now. Now, instead
Mm-hmm.
of being on opposite sides of that negotiation table, I've in effect come around to their side, kind of put my arm around them and like, yeah, this is rough.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
it does. I love the, here's another analogy I came up with years ago. It's
Yeah.
the difference between teaching and coaching. Teaching is I'm, proverbial standing in front of a room and with a classroom of 30 people, but I use the analogy of the river. I'm on one bank of the river and I'm teaching across the river, everybody on the other side trying to tell them, hey, come over here. You can do it. Come on. Here's
Yeah.
how you one hand in front of the other. But what a coach does is actually goes over to the other side, right?
Yeah.
To where that person is metaphorically in their life right now at that moment in their
Mm,
state of mind, and then swims back across with them. It's like you
I
implement
love
with
that.
them to get the other
Yeah.
side. That's how you get this one-on-one, but man, it works. So
It is. And I tell my clients, you don't have to be courageous. I'm going to lend you some of my courage.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly, look, when I went skydiving, I went tandem, right? I needed that instructor because I'm terrified of heights, right? I needed some of his courage.
Mm-hmm.
And and that is part and parcel what I do with my clients. And
Mm-hmm.
in working with real estate agents, I really love it because of the price point, right? It seems to get more intense the higher the price point. And one of the big mistakes that I see realtors make is they tend to look at everybody. Well, they tend to make everybody feel like they should buy the house, right? They
Mm-hmm.
they make people feel like they're just an ATM machine that's going to spit
Mm-hmm.
out the money to buy the house. And really what you want to do is you want to connect with them. In my realtor clients, one of the things I had them start to do is when somebody comes into the house that they're trying to sell, is they say to the home buyer, the prospect, like, hey, can I tell you a couple things I don't like about this house and a few things that I do? Is that
Yeah.
okay? And what that does is it instantly creates a tremendous amount of trust. Because here's a realtor doing what realtors mostly don't do, which is saying, here's what's bad about the house.
Yeah.
And they do that, they find things that they don't particularly like about the house. Because I mean, frankly, the home buyer is going to find it anyway, right? You can't hide that stuff.
Right.
And it shows them, hey, I'm on your side. And then when you talk about the things that you do like about the house, now you have their trust, right?
Yeah.
And you continually build on that faith. So it's
Yeah.
like anything else. You create the groundwork for the relationship and you build
Yeah.
on that groundwork.
Did you know that you can participate in class every Monday? We call it Monday Night Live, 7 p.m. Eastern, with me and dozens of other investor agents from around the country, in fact, the world. Every Monday, totally free. No selling, no recruiting, just straight up education on anything and everything in real estate. And we have a lot of good guests coming on once or twice a month, bringing in expertise on subjects like how to buy a house with crypto. Okay. How about them apples? What about AI? How's AI affecting our business? How about the metaverse, blockchain processing? We're already using it in title work. So come on to Monday Night Live. Be ready to take notes and ask questions because it's live and engaging, and you get to participate by asking questions and meeting others. So we'll see you there. Go to GaryRealEstateWithGaryWilson.com. Click on the resource tab, drop down, and you'll see Monday Night Live. And in there, you can see one of the most recent classes. But more importantly, you can register for class as many as you want going up to like the end of the year, I believe. So in any case, do that. We'll see you on Monday Night Live. Look forward to meeting you in person. Take care. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I appreciate you sharing that because I've been in those shoes before, and I've had masterminds I've paid for that were $100,000, and I've others I've paid for that were $5,000.
Yeah.
And I've had coaching that was anywhere, starting off with 3,000 up to 100 and something thousand.
Wow.
But the reality is when you can make that kind of commitment in your mind, right? That it's like, instead of it's something that you need to push you forward, that becomes something that's in front of you, pulling you forward. And that
Yeah.
coach is going to keep pulling you forward. But you have to make that kind of commitment in some way, shape, or form in a tangible way to demonstrate the level of commitment that's going on inside of your heart and your mind. Because any good coach is going to look for that before they agree to work with you,
Mhm.
because your time is valuable too, and you get other clients and other students. But at the same time, you can't make that person be ready at that moment of commitment. That they've got to see it themselves. You can show them the water. You can give
Right.
them, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
It's so
yep.
true.
So let's say they do that now. So
Uh,
what is a if someone was to work with you, what's that process look like? Like the moment of engagement. How does it actually work? If you don't
mm.
mind sharing, the how part.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. And look, I'm not here to push my coaching on anybody, right? I mean,
Mhm.
fortunately, life is good. I'm doing well. I don't need clients. I'm looking for clients who are just badass, right? And that's why the name of my podcast is for badass entrepreneurs only. And you can look that
Mhm.
up, for badass entrepreneurs only. Um, I want people who just want to hit it hard, right? So I'm leading with that because the process of my coaching is
Mhm.
very direct, right? We get right into it. And so I work on two tracks. I call it
Mhm.
emotional and tactical. Right. So if you're
Mhm.
not willing to do the emotional work, I'm not the guy for you. If you're not willing to look at the things that you struggle with, the way that you hold yourself back, that internal self-talk, where your trauma comes from, we're going to get into it because
Yeah.
those are the exact things that hold you back. And frankly, the thing I love about selling is that anything that you struggle with in life and business shows up in a sales interaction. Your sense of
Yeah.
self-worth, the value, your ability to be influential, all those things are emotional quadrants, right?
Mhm.
And if you're selling in a method that is just a systematized way of selling, you're not being authentic, I don't want to talk to you unless you're willing to evolve into an authentic selling style. And what that means is sharing your heart. So we start with the emotional side. What
Mhm.
are you struggling with? How are you struggling? How do you overcome those struggles? And then we bring in the tactical. All of the tools, all the things, the chat GPTs and the online and all of the tools that are out there now that used to cost
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars and now we're $10 and $20 a month. All of the tools you can use to maximize your time. And I'm
Mhm.
speaking to you, real estate agents, because you've got to maximize your time. You're spending way too much time doing way too many things that other people could be doing. And in
Mhm.
fact, we got so good in my company at hiring overseas talent that now I'm launching this thing called LA Realtor Rescue. And
Mhm.
we are going to be working with LA realtors and actually realtors from anywhere, but we have a team of virtual assistants that can
Mhm.
do all the things you don't like to do, but do
Yeah.
them so much less expensive than you would to hire a local assistant, have to manage them, have to hire and fire all those things. We do it for you. All you have to do is say, this is what I need. And my team does it. And we will manage them for you. Right. So where I bring in all of these things into my coaching, right? I have all of these experiences owning a marketing agency that I
Mhm.
do things tactically. And by the way, if you who are listening right now, if you're thinking of hiring a coach and you should, if you don't have one, I have a coach that costs twice as much as I charge, right? Very expensive.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of hiring a business coach, the very first question that you have to ask that coach is, what's your plan for getting me paid back for what I'm paying you? What's your
Okay.
plan for getting me paid back for what I'm paying you? And if that coach says, well, what you put into it is what you get out of it, run. Because all that means is they're going to blame you if you don't get anything out of their coaching. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, you have to show up. Yeah, of course, you have to do the work. But it is the coach's responsibility to make sure that you get value out of their coaching. And if they're coaching you in a way that isn't working for you, it is up to them to alter their coaching methodology to suit you. It is not up to you to alter anything to suit their coaching methodology. Right. And if they
Aha.
cannot pivot, they suck.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I have a long history of getting my clients paid back for what they pay me in the first 3 months of our coaching. And it is important to me because, look, I'm a business coach, right? I have to teach you how to make more money. If I was a cooking coach and I didn't teach you how to make cookies, like, what's the point?
Right.
And so that is key. Any coach that you hire has to know how to get you paid back. It'd be like hiring a pilot, right? To fly you from New York to LA, lands in Cleveland and says, well, we would have made it if you had been a better passenger. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
I
key.
love it.
The other thing that I do is right away, we're going to create a vision for your future. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about the money or having, flying, I don't know, private, which you shouldn't do anyway. But it's not these classic, I want a mansion, I want to be able to, take a vacation. It'd be great if you had all those things. But what's the vision for how you're going to contribute? What are you going to do that is going to affect the lives of other people? And it's not just about, I'm not talking about doing it for free. What I'm talking about is making an impact. And if your current vision doesn't include an impact, and your current coach hasn't helped you with the impact that you're going to make, you're headed in the wrong direction. Because there isn't one person who ever said, I made all this money and that's what made me happy.
Yeah.
You look at the Andrew Carnegies of the world, like all these people who did these major give backs because what they realized is the money wasn't enough. And so we start with the vision of how you're going to use your wealth, use your influence to bring others along with you, because that is where the true joy lives. Gandhi said, if everybody knew the value, the joy of being in service, they would never quit. And it's so true.
I agree 100%. I mean, my entire adult life has been based on that lesson, that learning, and it's so true. Like Zig Ziglar said it in his own Southern salesman ways. If you just simply help enough other people get what they want, you'll get plenty of what you want too, And when you're a servant leader, I'm telling you, you'll have no problem attracting an audience, and
there's so many things that keep us from being that, Gary, to your point. Right. The reason more people aren't servant leaders is because they're fearful leaders. They're afraid of failing. They're afraid of not getting what they want. So they put pressure on people, right? Instead of right? And that's what sales is all about, being influential. It's not just about getting what you want. It's about being influential. It's about getting the stories that keep you stuck out of your mind and connecting with other people. And if you're open to it, I'd like to offer your audience something for free that will help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So a few years ago, I had been telling my clients how to move past the stories that they tell themselves that keep them stuck. And my clients kept saying, oh, these are great. You should write a book. You should write a book. So I finally did. And the book is called Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story and Take Action.
Okay.
Right? And that gap is the gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's this precipice. It is two cliff sides. And over on that other cliffside are all the things that you want. And the only thing that prevents you from jumping that gap are the stories that you tell yourself. So in this book is a collection of the stories that you tell yourself and how to overcome them. And to get that book, it's super simple. Just text the word GAP, G-A-P, to this number, 213-409-8366. 213-409-8366. Text the word GAP, G-A-P, to 213-409-8366, and you'll get my book, Jumping the Gap, Kill Your Story, and Take Action. And there's nothing to buy. There's no, you just get the book and enjoy it. Right. It is, I know, because I've heard from so many people how it has helped them to move past the things that they struggle with. It's a tiny little book, but the essence of everything that I've done to help my clients overcome their own struggles is locked away in that book. And I'm just like, I even read it because like I read it and go, wow, this is really good. I got to remember this. And I think that I'll just say one more time, jumping the gap, kill your stories and take action. GAP, GAP 213-409-8366.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I tell you what, I know we're getting short on time here, but I really appreciate you bringing the fire today and the energy and that's what people need. I mean, again, the academics become, almost a foregone conclusion when your heart and your mind are in the right place. And if you can, work with Dan, find your passion, design your vision, right? Create your vision. Man, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, most successful people I've ever met, and we do this on my team too with the agents. We always have them do a vision exercise first. And it's funny because just like any walk of life, 20% of them will actually do it, like fully devote themselves to it, do it the right way and move forward, get results. But the other 80%, it's almost like it's another thing on their checklist. I can tell because I have them share their vision statements with me. And, they're anywhere from a cocktail napkin with some check marks all the way up to an 8-page sort of mini story. But I tell you, the person who wrote the 8-page mini story always gets more out of the process because then we determine the goals and the action steps and develop a plan. Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, that's how you manifest stuff. I mean, you got to have faith and you got to take action. And this sounds weird, but once you determine the outcome you want, you need to kind of, put it out in front of you so you can see it. Right?
Yeah, right.
But it's like you have to detach yourself from it so that you can focus on, taking action today and having faith that if you've done your job correctly and you're a coach, the pathway, the plan you develop is going to lead you directly to the outcome anyway. So you got to have that element of faith in there. But we do it. In fact, we're going through it now. We do it every year at the end of it's a 4-week process, beginning, end of the year, beginning of the new year. And it's amazing the stories we get from people, the ones where they actually did it. Inevitably, they'll tell you, I had the best year ever that following year. And the people that don't is like, well, you know what here's what they say. I just don't have the time for something. I need to be in production. I don't have the time. And I'm like, you don't understand. This is going to give you time and give you energy and give you purpose,
They're afraid. And, if somebody does want some help, I mean, I'd be happy to jump on the phone or jump on a Zoom. You can connect with me through LinkedIn. Just look up Coach Dan Gordon on LinkedIn. You'll find me. And also that number for downloading my book, you can also text the word help, HELP, to that same number, 213-409-8366. And you can book a 15-minute call with me. I'd be happy to help anybody in your audience, Gary, because I mean, if the things that you're talking about, and I usually don't give away that number because I just don't have the time, but it's really clear to me the things that you're talking about, you have attracted an audience who are committed to their own growth. And I love those people, and I will go to the wall for them.
Well, I appreciate that, Dan. I appreciate kind words and I take them, receive them gratefully and humbly, So, if for everybody listening, if you're driving, don't stop, don't write this down, but later on you can replay this. We're going to have it out there on our website on 30 different channels, including the one you're listening to now to listen to this. But remember this too, Dan Gordon is his name. Dan, D-A-N, Gordon, Gordon. And he's got a great website, dangordonenterprise.com.
That's it.
You can look at testimonials there. There's things you can download. There's a form you can name and email at the very bottom. Just submit that, So lots of help here. Believe me, the journey of, 1,000 miles begins with one step. And you might, you could take the book and be perfectly fine. But I say start there so you know what's available to you, what's possible for you. And to do that, just remember, right? Text the word GAP, G-A-P, to 213-409-8366. In the book is, if I got this right, Dan, it's Jump Your Gap, Kill Your Story, and Take Action. Did I get it?
Yeah. Jumping the gap. And also text the word help. You can text the word help to that same number to book a call with me. And the two things I guarantee in every call is you're going to walk away with $10,000 worth of advice, and you will not be a client by the end of the call because I will not try to sell you on being a client. That's not what it's about.
Nice. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you, Dan, and the listener. I appreciate you. Please remember the if you feel like you have a giving spirit, just leave a review. I mean, whatever channel you're on, it's on 30 different channels. Obviously, Apple's the biggest, but whatever you choose, leave your review, right? And then before you leave the internet, go visit globalinvestoragent.com. If you're an investor, you can find your agent there who's trained to work with you in 38 states across the country. And if you are an agent, man, believe me, I've been in the business a lot of years as an investor and as a broker. I can tell you, we've seen this before. Where we are, it's not time to panic. It's time to prepare. So go ahead and click on the learn more button and have a conversation with me. And right after that, take Dan up on and have a conversation with him, and you'll have the 1-2 punch you need for this next year coming up. So everybody take care of yourselves. God bless you and your families. And we will see you all on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.